Hey guys, good evening. This is Spirit Journey, and today is Sunday, November 22nd, 2015, and it's about 6:30 p.m. So I also apologize for the graininess of this film because it is dark in the room, and I see that with these computers, that if it starts to get dark, the quality of the video gets very grainy, even though I do have a light shining on me. Well, um, I just stayed in this Sunday and feeling very reflective and just cutting up with my little dogs. This is Lavender, the Pekingese. So if he starts ruffling around, on my lap, you know what it is. So, well, either way, I was watching some videos today, and I've come across this man. He was a guest on this talk show with the name of her channel is Wisdom from North. She's from Norway, and her first name is Jannica. She has an excellent YouTube channel. She has guests on her show, and they discuss spirituality, all types of subjects, but in that vein of topic. And the guest that she had on that I watched, his name is Dr. John Demartini. So okay, that's Demartini, and it's the first time I've ever heard of him. And wow, I actually watched two videos with him on, that same woman's channel. And wow, I've talked to counselors, therapists, and this guy hit it on the head about things that people go through and why they may be miserable. Well, the first video, I think it was entitled Self-Love, and I like to go through it, what he discussed. I have my notes in front of me, so you'll see my eyes go down because I'm reading. But yeah, he said in short that, with self-love, that we have two sides to us, and that we have our dark side, and we also have our light side, and it's a balancing act, and that how I internalize what he means, that that life has a duality, and in order to really self-love, you have to accept both sides of yourself. And my growing up, I always felt that I had to be a particular way. If you're not so-called good, you're going to get disciplined, and your value is based on performance, how you behave, and you're living up to someone else's expectation of you, and it puts stress on you. And I think that's what I was feeling, stress of being someone else's image or expectation of you, So he continues on. He says, let me read here. He says, when someone or something challenges our belief system, such as religion, we get defensive and call it dark and evil. I thought that was something. And yeah, with this spirit journey that I'm going through, that I felt that you had to be a certain way to be accepted by the church. And like, let's say, you get so-called born again, in some traditions. And when someone else is not born again, and then they say, well, I'm a follower of such and such religion, then sometimes if you're not secure with yourself, you'll start to get defensive and maybe even name calling, you know. So I thought that was interesting. So I guess in self-love, you have to accept yourself, you know, your belief system, and your belief system is not, should not be based on someone else's belief system, you know. So I thought that was important. And he also says here that those things that attracted us, okay, yeah, those things that have attracted us may later on become a burden. And I thought that was interesting, and I'll elaborate. Well, like for example, I had gotten dogs. I have three little dogs, and I remember before I got my first dog, I was fascinated watching people walk their dogs, and I was fascinated with the little tail going back, you know, wagging. And it was just, I don't know, I just thought it was something fascinating about little animals. And well, I got my first one, then followed by my second and third. But I realized that when you, the things that you liked in the pet, you know, could actually start to, you know, you get frustrated with it, you know, a quality in them, you know, and then you know, like let's say their excitedness, like they wag their tail, they jump on you, want to lick you all over, and then but let's say you want to be quiet, whatever, and you know, they might be start to get demanding. They have a mind of their own too, and it could make you become impatient. So that thing that you wanted, or even let's say having a big fancy house, you know, well, you may not have realized that it costs money to do repairs. Let's say the taxes that are imposed on that housing, you know, and it could leech your resources rather than being a real blessing to you, you know. So those things, or even friends, you know, you might have liked how a particular friend laughs, and then after a while they keep, you know, it starts to get on your nerve, and you might have initially found it attractive, you know. So I thought that was interesting. And he mentions also that, you know, love is a balancing act between both sides of ourselves. So I guess those parts of ourselves that we like and don't like, you know. So somehow we have to bridge those sections together, you know. He says also to, some of these things actually might be repeating itself a little bit, but I'm just going to read it. It says, honor both sides. The dark side, okay, the dark side challenges us, and it's that which motivates us to change, okay? And those things that helped others makes others, okay, codependent, okay. Okay, so sometimes I don't even understand my own notes. Okay, okay, so he's saying here that, you know, if everything is just, you know, even, you know, your life won't have any, you know, you get in a slump, maybe boredom might kick in, and that when those so-called challenging aspects of ourselves manifest, you know, that maybe it's actually going to um, lead us to do other things, you know, challenge yourself. You know, you've learned how to, let's say, use your computer. Well, maybe the next step is doing other things with your computer that you never even thought of, you know. So I guess with life and loving yourself, that is always progressing, going up. You know, you just don't stay stagnant. with yourself, okay? And with this motivation, let's see, when you get motivated, you might be able to help other people, you know, and oh, and even those good parts. Like, let's say you have, okay, I mentioned about the so-called negative side that could motivate us. Let's say you said that you tell yourself, well, I'm a good person. I love to help people. You know, I have resources, and I like to share my resources with other people. Well, actually, that could actually be something that could be a negative. Let's say that this person or people receives your resources, but then they fail to motivate themselves to get it for themselves. You know, they become dependent or codependent on this person, you know, and the person is actually becoming an enabler, you know. So here, something could be a positive, but then could manifest a negative on someone, codependency, okay? So I guess that's where duality comes in again, you know? So I think that's what the importance with that was all about. Okay. He mentions also that the light and dark sides of our lives are inseparable, and that we're to use wisdom and embrace them together. So I guess again the duality, you know, you can't have one without the other. You know, even when you're pedaling a bike, you notice with your foot, one goes up, the other one is down, and then when you move it, it goes, up and down, up and down, So I guess again, dualities or opposites, and I guess in order to go forward, you have to somehow integrate both sides, just like pedaling a bicycle, and to be able to move forward. That analogy I came to myself while thinking about what he was mentioning, okay? Yes, so it's a lot of, messages that nature speaks to us, and by like looking at nature and the things around us, you see that balance in life, So I think it's fascinating, okay? He mentions about, like the speaker, the host of Wisdom from the North, Yannicka, her name is. She just mentioned, sometimes I might feel lazy about doing certain things. And he says, Dr. John says, there's no such thing as a lazy person. Okay, that's a hot, statement. And what he says was that it means that you are not living, I'm sorry, it means you are not living in someone else's expectation of you that you are not fulfilling. Let's see, okay, I have to, okay, what I think I meant to say is, okay, those people who are perceived as being lazy, they are following someone else's expectation. They're not fulfilling someone else's expectation. So when you see them, let's say your expectation is that person is to get up every day and clean their room, and then they don't want to do it and they want to just sleep late. Okay, so he's saying, Dr. John is saying, no, well, your expectation for that other person is to do X, Y, and Z, but that person's not doing it. Their priority may not be to make their bed, but when they are they become motivated when they do what they're passionate about, what they're motivated about, that if they're in line with their belief system, not belief system, but like he mentions something about like we all have a value system, and he said that every person has a value system, and that when you find out what your value system really is, focus on that, and that focus is a motivator to do it. He elaborated still that with him, when he found out what was really driving him, he didn't have to have his parents tell him what to do. He just did it, you know? So I thought that was something, you know? So I guess what I'm saying here, for myself and for the viewers of this video, is if you're in a slump, and if you start to feel down, whatever, you start to ask yourself, am I trying to live up to someone else's expectation? You know, oh, you should have this type of job, or you should dress this type of way. And then when you don't fulfill other people's expectations of your lifestyle, then you feel like a failure, and you really do start to get depressed, you know? So even me today, I said to myself, I don't have to get up out of bed. I don't have to put on my clothes. I could leave my pajamas and robe on if I want to, you know? I live by myself. I don't have anyone to impress. And I felt okay with that. And sometimes you just need to rest your body. Okay, even my dogs, I think my dogs needed to just rest up a little bit, you know? And they were quiet most of the day. So I'm relieved about that. And they like just being near me sometimes. You know, they especially like when I'm in bed or on the couch, and they just want to, you know, be with me on the couch. And I like that because I get to hug something, you know? So it's really neat. Okay. Okay, he repeats again that he says to live according to your values and expectations. Okay, and this is self-motivating. Okay, and again he says, when I'm repeating myself here, he says, when you try to live according to someone else's values, you become inwardly angry. Yes, I was. I was very angry. And he says, let's see, you become angry, such as, you know, careers. Let's say you have parents. Let's say I want you to go to such and such college, or I want you to be this, but you don't have a desire for it. So if you don't have a desire for something, you know, you're not going to be motivated behind it. You know, or the type of jobs, where you're going to live, or your clothing styles, you know. And that's another one with clothing and styles. You know, you have people who want to get the latest clothing, or trendy things, trendy boots, or even iPhones. And I found myself starting to get trapped in that. You know, I want to look nice when I go outside, but sometimes I felt that, you know, if I didn't dress like certain people in my area, I felt that I was starting to feel inadequate about myself, you know, and that could get you depressed. So again, it's telling me, you know, it's you know, saying that this doctor, you know, is right about certain things, that living up to someone else's expectation could make you not like yourself. Okay. He said that I'm sorry. He talks about when we start to live other people's expectation. He says that we start to live in a fantasy, and yeah, you're living a fantasy. And when I live someone else's dream, you know, that's what's happening. When you do what you value, you are self-motivated and successful, you know. So I think it's true about, you know, living a fantasy life. Part of a fantasy could be, you know, what type of home you're to live in. And or what type of clothes or what type of devices you should buy, electronic devices, because of what other people say that you should have. And it is a fantasy. Yeah. And I see that he's right about that. I was living a fantasy life and being frustrated because I'm living someone else's expectations of me. And some of those expectations could be from people, the people who imposed it on you may not even be alive. And you're still trying to satisfy their expectation of you. That's a real bondage. And I see I was doing that a lot to myself. Wow. Okay. So he says fulfillment of self is a must. And in order to have that self-fulfillment, you have to embrace both your negative and positive side. And he even talked about when he was growing up that he read all these motivational books and to think positive 24/7. And he said he didn't really move an inch in pursuing that. And he wasn't fulfilled. He really didn't look fulfilled when he was explaining it. And wow, I see that rather than trying to hide, sometimes you feel like you have to hide behind a persona. You want people to think that you're happy all day, that everything's together. Maybe it might be a good exercise for me to just, hey, maybe express outside. Hey, I'm feeling cranky, whatever. Be be real. I guess that's what he's saying. Also, be real with yourself. I think with people who I meet, I would prefer them being real. If they want to be, whatever, I'll respect that because they're being real. So I guess that's a big thing about spirituality. Be real, whether negative or positive. Okay. Okay. I also have here about being delusional or the fantasy. He says again that does lead to depression. So I guess if you're depressed, ask yourself, are you delusional or living someone else's fantasy or your own fantasy about something, to be something that you're not? He's saying, the way to get out of depression is to embrace that negative side, because of that duality. Okay. Let's see what else here. He also gives about the different. He noticed that there were 15 traits in people that can cause depression. I'm not going to really go through all of them, but I think encapsulating what they are is you imposing someone's belief, you imposing your own belief system on someone else and they don't fulfill it. That could make you depressed. Or you trying to fulfill that other person's expectation for you to follow, that would make you depressed, So things like that. You're going back and forth, people imposing on you or you imposing on them, or even inanimate objects. Something doesn't work properly, and then you start arguing. Let's say you argue with the TV because it doesn't do what you want it to do. And the arguing with the TV won't change the situation, and that will give you depressed, So it's things like that, Okay, I'm almost done here. Yeah, I have some notes here. I say that I was addicted to my own fantasy of illusions, and that was making me depressed. He says, don't be a victim of your own past and to take control of your perceptions. To master your your own destiny. Wow. And I wrote here that I was comparing me to others. Yeah, that is something else. So rather than me trying to control other people, he's saying control what's in here, your perceptions. I had so many perceptions of things, expectations, and it controlled me. I was, everything. Wow. It says control your perceptions. If your perceptions is what's causing you to get depressed or frustrated or have to take medications, there are tons of people taking medications, he was saying. He says, I sat with them and told them about their delusions or fantasies, and it cleared up their depression. And they didn't even have to take the medication. But some people prefer to take the medication because they don't want to change. And that's another element. He mentions also that depression is not a disease. Okay, that's elaborating what I just mentioned. Depression is not a disease, but a feedback mechanism to let you know that you have unrealistic expectations. Wow. And he says that I project, okay, I was projecting on my life this unrealistic expectation. He says, learn the lesson for why you're depressed. So it won't keep on coming back. Okay, so it's like a cycle about this unrealistic expectation, which makes you depressed. Then you ask yourself, why am I depressed? And you start to examine it. What is your belief system? What he calls your perception. And so once you target your perception, this could eliminate that depression. Wow. This guy was really something. That's all I could say. He hit it on the head. He says, let's see, what else? He says, if you accept yourself of what you are, you become the person you love. I'm going to read that again. If you accept yourself of what you are, that means the good and the bad, you become the person you love, because then you're accepting yourself. And the truth is the same for other people, that some people could press your buttons. And he mentions things about that he finds that when someone presses your button, there's something in that person that's actually a reflection of yourself that is that you don't like about yourself, that you didn't accept in yourself. And when you start accepting that other person's good and bad side about themselves, then you can actually start to love that person. Isn't that something? So if we're around people that we don't like, he's saying that it's probably a quality in that person that is, resembles some aspect in yourself, and accept it. Accepting it doesn't mean that you have to like it. Just accept it. Okay, it's as is. And I guess everything falls into place within you. Harmony. He's talking about harmony, and harmony is peace. Okay. And again, it's a recapping. If you try to be what you're not, you are not going to be happy. Love all parts of yourself, and that stabilizes. Yeah. So I think that's really exciting, and it motivated me. And wow, it's really an eye opener. Him, Dr. John, what's his name? Demartini. I've talked to professionals about happiness and all that, and this guy hit it on the head. So I'm going to end this video, and so please feel free to comment below, share this video with friends or family. You could subscribe, and lastly, to give me the thumbs up and to like. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.